So how did you get in trouble?
I waited for somebody to say something about torture, and nobody did. And then I got divorced. My kids moved with my ex-wife to Ohio, and they were little. They needed their dad, so I decided I'm going to leave the agency, go into the private sector so I can see my boys on the weekends. And still I waited for somebody to say something, and nobody did. Now, I wish that I could tell you that I stood up and I took a stand, and that wasn't it at all. I got a call in December of 2007. So now I'm out of the agency 3.5 years. I got a call from Brian Ross at ABC News. And he said that he had a source who said I had tortured Abu Zubaydah. I said, that was absolutely false. I was the only person who was kind to Abu Zubaydah. I said, I've never laid a hand on Abu Zubaydah or any other prisoner. And he said, well, you're welcome to come on the show and defend yourself. Well, I had never spoken to a reporter before. I didn't know that was a reporter's trick. So I said, I'll think about it. In the meantime, President Bush, I remember it being a Monday, President Bush gives a press conference. And the International Committee of the Red Cross had said in a paper that the CIA was torturing prisoners. Human Rights Watch said CIA is torturing prisoners, and Amnesty International said CIA is torturing prisoners. So a reporter says, look, all these international human rights organizations are saying that the CIA is torturing its prisoners. What's your response to that? And the president looks right in the camera and he goes, we do not torture, like that. And I said to my wife, who was a senior CIA officer, I said, he is a bald-faced liar. He's looking the American people right in the eye, and he's lying to us. And she said, are you surprised? Well, then on Wednesday, 2 days later, he gets a similar question. And he said that there is no torture. I knew he was lying. And then another 2 days later, it's Friday, and he's walking from the south portico of the White House to the helicopter to go to Camp David for the weekend. And a reporter shouts another question about torture. At this time, he stops and he turns and he says, well, if there is torture, it's because of a rogue CIA officer. And I said to my wife, Brian Ross's sources at the White House, and they're going to pin this on me. So I called Brian Ross and I said, I'll give you your interview. And I decided in the whatever it was.
Why did you think they were going to pin it on you?
Because
they were calling you the human
no.
rights guy,
Yeah.
so that you were going to be a patsy.
Mm-hmm. And I was not
you just
willing
assumed
to.
that
I
was going to
assumed,
happen.
yeah.
Because that's just your experience with the organization.
Oh, yeah. They're going to leave somebody out to dry to protect themselves. So I called Brian Ross. I said, I'll give you your interview. And I decided that whatever he was going to ask me, and he never told me in advance what he was going to ask me, I was just going to tell the truth. And so he met me at the ABC News studios on DeSale Street in Washington. And I said 3 things in that interview that changed the course of the rest of my life. I said that the CIA was torturing its prisoners. I said that torture was official U.S. government policy. It was not the result of any rogue officer. And I said that the policy had been personally approved by the president himself. And then, as you can imagine, within 24 hours, the CIA files what's called a crimes report against me with the FBI, saying that I had revealed classified information. The FBI then investigates me from December of 2007 to December of 2008. And then they send my attorney a letter called a declination letter, declining to prosecute. They said that they had completed their investigation, that the information was already out there because of Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, and the Red Cross. But most importantly, torture is a crime, and it is illegal to classify a crime for the purpose of keeping it from the American people. So no charges. My wife and I went out to celebrate that night. We went to dinner. 3-4 weeks later, Barack Obama becomes president, and he names John Brennan, at first CIA director, but the liberals went crazy because Brennan was one of the fathers of the torture program. Everybody seems to forget that now. And we can get into that if you want. But he then names Brennan the Deputy National Security Advisor for counter-terrorism. Brennan immediately sends a memo to Eric Holder, the new Attorney General, and says, talking about me, charge him with espionage. And Holder writes back, we got these memos in discovery when I went to trial. Holder writes back and says, my people don't think he committed espionage. And then Brennan writes back and says, charge him anyway and make him defend himself. So they charged me with 5 felonies, 3 counts of espionage. They waited until I went bankrupt, and then they dropped the espionage charges. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, God, that's so gross.
That's Washington.
It's just so hard to believe that the United States of America government works like that. I believe it. Oh, but
yeah.
It's hard to swallow.
There's a book by Harvey Silverglate, who's a professor of law at Harvard University. The book is called 3 Felonies a Day. And he says that we are so over-regulated, so over-criminalized in this country that the average American on the average day going about his or her normal daily business commits 3 felonies every single day. So if they want to get you, they're going to get you. And there's nothing you can do to protect yourself.
Oof.